And here we go on this Monday evening. It is November 28th, 2022, 6 p.m. straight up. That means it's time for Real Talk Memphis live and local. I am your host, Chip Washington. Very happy to be with you on this Monday evening. I hope that you had a tremendous week since the last time we corresponded. Of course, in between last week and this week, we had Thanksgiving. So I hope that you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, did not eat too much turkey. I will not make such a claim. I ate as much as I could get my hands on. But I'm okay. I'm all right. You know, you do it up once big, and then, you know, you have a few days to kind of digest and let things move along. Now, if you traveled, I hope that you made it back okay. A lot of folks didn't. They canceled flights on yesterday, a couple of thousand. Today, another 2,000 or 3,000 because of bad weather that is hampering part of the country. And speaking of, prepare yourself, ladies and gentlemen, for a stormy Tuesday. Weather forecasters are talking about rain and thunderstorms moving in tomorrow afternoon, and they will be with us through the remainder of the day and into the evening hours. We could see a good possibility of tornadoes. Said all that to say this: prepare yourself. Make sure that you have your cell phones, your iPads, and your electronic instruments all charged up and ready to go, just in case you lose power, because if there's a threat of tornadoes, there's a threat of high winds out there as well. So please, tomorrow be weather alert. Be careful out there, on your goings and comings, and let's try to get through this one in relatively good shape. Now, before we move any further, you're asking yourself, how do I get this fine piece of radio? Well, you know what? Because I'm in a good mood, I'm going to tell you how you get this fine piece of radio broadcasting. You do it in a number of ways, by the way. It is live right now on 91.7 WYXR on your FM dial. You can also catch us live on the TuneIn app. You can catch us on the WYXR app as well. We are also doing this little deal called Facebook Live, and you may be tuning in and checking us out. And once the show is posted tomorrow, it will be available on YouTube. And as we are a podcast, you can catch us after tomorrow afternoon, wherever it is you get your podcast. Thank you for asking. Really appreciate that. We have a good show for you tonight. We're going to talk about a couple of things that are really front and center on folks' minds, and that is the economy, in which we're all dealing with in terms of the prices in the stores and the high inflation and the possibility of another recession. And we're also going to talk to our friend from the Better Business Bureau of the Mid-South. His name is Daniel Irwin. And we're going to talk about these holiday scams, which are already starting to rear their ugly heads. And, you know, we do this because they're getting pretty sophisticated and slick, and we want to keep you one step ahead of that. A little bit later on, we're going to be talking to a PR specialist and guru. His name is Marvin Stockwell, and Marvin really enjoys grassroots advocating in the PR world of grassroots organizing and things like that. Plus, there's another particular project that he's working on here, so we'll talk to him about that a little bit later on. But as we do each and every Monday at this particular time, we celebrate you. If you had a birthday over the weekend, or you have one today or this week, we like to do a little thing called the Real Talk Memphis Shout Out. That's where we shout you out all over the country and join in your celebration of your trip around the sun. But we can't do that unless I say, hit it, Lola.
Happy birthday!
Yeah. Happy birthday going out to Jimmy Sykes, celebrating today. Paul Shields, it's your birthday. Happy birthday to Andrea Curry. Nina Dunn, celebrating her birthday today, as is Ann Giles. Jackie Thompson, celebrating today. Sandra Pittman, it's your birthday. Mylencia Henderson, celebrating her birthday today. Happy birthday to Ann Jones. To my longtime friend, Melody Meadows, and to Mr. Eric Odell Harris. And I'm getting that familiar wave from Lola, which means she's about to turn on the mic and announce another birthday. Go ahead, Lola.
Happy
Happy birthday to Charnel Smith and my cousin Rosario Robinson. Happy birthday today.
Happy birthday, y'all. It's good. See there, you know what? Lola never passes an opportunity to wish those near and dear to her happy birthday. So to all of you, from all of us here at Real Talk Memphis, very happy birthday, and we hope to be with you again next year for your next trip around the sun. Thanks, Lola. All right, so as we get into news and notes, many of you are probably familiar, maybe a little bit older, with a woman by the name of Irene Cara. She was a singer, and she sang the theme to the movie Flashdance, which was years and years ago. And she also sang the theme to the movie and television series Fame. She was also in Fame, as a matter of fact. She won an Academy Award and a Grammy for both of those performances. She was 63 years young. She died on Friday afternoon, and don't know the circumstances surrounding it. But we mourn that loss. So she was a very talented young woman, and did some good things in her very short time here on Earth. So we send our condolences out to the family and all those who were fans of hers. All right, so last week we talked about the fact that the Tennessee Supreme Court has said that life sentences for juvenile offenders are unconstitutional. Can't do it, don't want to do it. They think it's detrimental to the young person. So, I guess this puts to rest the question, if a minor under the age of 18 commits a major felony, killing someone or something along that score, we're not allowed to even determine or have a conversation about whether that particular crime should be sentenced to a higher court or to adult prison. Based on the Tennessee Supreme Court, it's no. So how is all of that going to shake out when more and more of our juveniles are not only killing each other, but a lot of grown folks and committing major felony crimes as well? What are the options? Because when you go to juvenile court, by the time they can only keep you till you're 19 right now, and you're back out doing your thing. With the continuation of all these juvenile crimes that is going on every single day, it makes me wonder now that there are really nothing really to get in the way of all of that in terms of what they're doing. I have a big time problem with all of that. We'll see how it shakes out as we move along down the road here. Pedestrian fatals is another thing that we've been dealing with a lot. A lot of folks have been killed out here walking, in our city, in these various parts of town, in these intersections. We had one on Sunday morning. We're getting close to 70 deaths in reference to the pedestrian side of things. This is becoming a real problem. This particular person who was hit yesterday morning was a female in the Raleigh area. The driver did not stop, did not render aid, just kept on going. And when they found her, she was dead, right in the middle of the intersection. This, again, is becoming such a problem. Some organization, some group, national survey group, did a survey that ranks Memphis as the third most dangerous city in the country for pedestrian deaths. We're just setting records all over the place here. So again, that's not a situation that we should be happy about or proud of. So again, we're approaching 70 right now. They don't keep statistics. The police department does not keep statistics in that particular category. That to me is a little odd, but with the high number, I'm thinking that might change as well. But there really isn't any reference point to turn to here. But just be careful. Nonetheless, be careful. We had an election recently, and one of those elections saw Representative Barbara Cooper win her reelection to her House seat in District 86. Well, Barbara Cooper has since died. So the governor has set a primary for her seat in January 23rd. is the primary, and the general election is March 14th. Now, right now, there is no representation for District 86. The Shelby County Commission could appoint somebody in the interim between now and the election in March. They have yet to do so. We'll see if that is done between now and then. And, I know that there are a lot of you out there because I can just hear you grunting and moaning about the fact that the flu season is here. And it has come pretty quickly, and it has come with a fury. A lot of kids are out of school. So you're starting to see that already. And don't be surprised if sometime pretty soon you're going to hear on the news that school districts, entire districts, will be shut down for a week or so they could clear things out, get folks home, get them well, and disinfect the school so they could come back to it. If you haven't got your flu shot, you really need to get one. Now, I realize that the first thing you will say is, no, I don't get flu shots. I've never gotten the flu, blah, 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 blah. Now, I know people who got flu shot and then got the flu. The flu shot is not guaranteed to keep you from getting the flu. The flu shot is to hopefully minimize the symptoms that you will get from the flu. That is a pretty good distinction there, okay? You don't want to be low sick, as they say. And then besides that, if you get the flu and you're still living at home, you take it home to your parents, your family, your siblings if you have younger siblings. And then what about your grandparents? The older folks are more susceptible to this than anybody else. So again, we're seeing high numbers in the emergency rooms in this city. And these RSV cases, which is the respiratory issue that the younger ones get, but they can sure pass it along. And a lot of older folks are getting sick from RSV as well. And it's pretty tough on the older folks. So again, just do yourself a favor, do your family a favor and your friends. As we get into Christmas, New Year's, times of celebration, get that flu shot. All right? All right, lecture over. So we're going to take our first commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to start this show off and we're going to talk about the economy. That's something we're all talking about. This is Real Talk Memphis. I am Chip. You know who you are. Quick break, right back.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
WYXR is supported by the Orpheum Broadway season, presenting the return engagement of the musical Dear Evan Hansen November 29th through December 4th. Dear Evan Hansen is the personal and contemporary musical about life and the way we live it. More information at orpheum-memphis.com.
A full day of free live music is on tap at WYXR's Raised by Soundfest, sponsored by Mempho Presents. Spend the day at Crosstown Concourse on Saturday, December 3rd to see performances by Mac Rowe, Welkstall, Lemons, Doll McCoy, Edie X Tico, Knots, and Aaron Ray. 2 ticketed fundraising events wrap up the fest. Big Star's 50th anniversary of Number One Record at Crosstown Theater, and a DJ after party with Andrew Van Weingarten and Bodywork. Plus, Kevin Morby will kick things off on November 30th for the opening of This Is a Photograph exhibit. Go to raisedbysoundfest.com for details and ticketing info.
WYXR needs volunteers for Raised by Soundfest on December 3rd. We hope you will join us for the big day and help make the festival happen. To sign up for volunteering, visit wyxr.org/get-involved.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis. On this Monday evening, very happy to have you with us for the big broadcast for the next little bit. Very happy to have my first guest with me as well. This is the first time I've made his acquaintance, but I've seen him several times on television and other places talking about the economy and what we're dealing with and what we may face in the future. So I'm very pleased to welcome to Real Talk Memphis Dr. John Gnuschke. And Dr. John, it's good to see you, and thanks for coming on Real Talk.
Oh, you're more than welcome. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. So you're an economist, and you kind of keep a track of what is going on economically in our country. We are dealing with high prices everywhere, although gas prices are starting to come down a little bit, but the grocery store prices, we're still dealing with supply chain issues. Inflation is as high as it's been in decades, and we might be headed towards a recession. With all you see, with all I just mentioned, kind of what is the outlook as you see it?
Let me tell you about my outlook for 23. My outlook for 23 is going to be a better year. It's going to be better than 22.
Okay.
And 22 wasn't terrible except for the inflation. Now, let me tell you about the inflation part. The inflation is a problem that's going to diminish over a short period of time. We're going to begin to see the impact of lower oil prices and lower fuel prices show up in all of those products that you're seeing at the grocery store. Right now, lots of suppliers and lots of businesses are taking advantage of the fact that their costs are up, therefore they're charging you more money. Well, when costs go down, they should charge you less money. So that's what I hope will happen in early 2023. We'll begin to see those signs, and the threat of a recession will begin to diminish.
Well, that's very good news if that all holds in place. What do you attribute the gas prices back under $3? I'm seeing 280 to 290. Is that a result of more supply in terms of oil supply?
Yes, it's clearly a supply issue. Okay, demand hasn't changed that much. We haven't stopped driving. We didn't stop driving when the gas prices were $5, and now my outlook is that they'll be $2.50 by mid-year, and unless something happens in the Middle East or something happens with Russia and Ukraine that we don't expect, okay, gas prices should continue to decline.
Do you place any of what we have been seeing lately in terms of the prices and everything else? Do you attribute any of that to the war in Ukraine, or are there other contributing factors in your mind?
Well, there are lots of contributing factors, but the war in Ukraine is one of them. And because we're operating in a global economy, Ukraine was a huge supplier of agricultural products to the global market. And so prices of ag commodities have gone up. And they've gone up in the U.S., and they've gone up around the world. And that was primarily because of Ukraine. Now, we can expect to see some relief from that if, in fact, the Ukraine situation ever improves.
So, and speaking of that, now, going to the grocery store this time of year and of late has not been a joyful experience. Not only have prices skyrocketed on some of the things that we buy the most, a lot of these items you can't even find anymore. A lot of the store shelves are empty. What is the cause of that, and do you think that will ease at any particular point in time?
Well, it's a supply chain issue, like you mentioned earlier. And so anytime we've got that supply chain issue, you've got to address those kind of problems. And right now, the actions of the Federal Reserve Bank are primarily aimed at slowing the economy. It's to take money out of the system, and that's supposed to reduce the rate of inflation. Well, that doesn't solve the supply chain problem, and that doesn't solve the Ukraine problem. And until we get those problems solved, we're not going to see major declines in inflation. We're going to see modest declines, and I think that's what 2023 is. The outlook is for modest declines, and those are because of the fact that we're going to see year over year price declines in many of the goods that you currently purchase, and that will be a good thing.
Well, I mean, any kind of relief, for consumers is a good thing. And, speaking of that, we talked about the inflation and what the Fed is trying to do to control that. It's as high as it's been in, 3 decades now in terms of the inflation?
Yeah, it's been quite a long time, okay? But let me give you an example. When I moved to Memphis in 1976, I bought a house, and the interest rate on my house was 10 5/8. It's currently 6.5. Okay.
Okay.
So there's a long way to go before it's a huge disaster, but it's a disaster nonetheless. And we have a lot of poor people in Memphis.
Yes.
We have a lot of people that do listen to the radio, who in fact can't afford cable TV because the cable rates have gone up too high. And the truth of it is that they are being harmed the most by the inflation. And they're the ones that can't afford to pay the bills. And they're the ones that we have to worry about the most.
And that's not an indictment, Dr. John. That's a fact. I mean, there is a very high poverty rate in the city of Memphis, which makes the folks who are struggling now have to strain and struggle even more. In reference to what we're seeing from the pricing situation and everything else. So, based on what you're talking about and what you're saying there, the ride is still going to be rough for a while for our folks. Am I hearing you correctly with that?
I'm saying the ride has been rough for our folks for generations.
Yeah.
And we're just in a little rough spell. Now, the good news is that the job market has stayed fairly strong, so people can find work if they can work. And many of our poorest people can't work. They can't work because they're too old, or they're too young, or they're too incapacitated. So there are lots of reasons for people not to be able to work. But for those people who can work, it's great that jobs are out there, okay, for people to take. Now, the worst possible situation would be you have inflation and you have no job.
Well, that's a pretty nasty combination. I do note though, and maybe you have as well. There are jobs available, but there aren't a lot of people willing to go and get these jobs, especially in the service industry, because everywhere you go, the customer service is just horrible, primarily because they can't keep, and restaurant owners in places like that, they will tell you, we can't get anybody. We can't find anybody. We can't get anybody who wants to work. What's your take on that?
Well, my take on that's typically that it's a pricing issue. In other words, if you're willing to pay, people are willing to work. And if you're not willing to increase their wages enough to attract workers, then it's very difficult to do it. Now, it is true that there's a shortage of workers, and many employers are facing that. Even our finest employers are facing problems with finding workers, especially high quality workers. But still, the issue is that if you desperately needed a job, you could find one. And that's good news for the people who struggle the hardest and the most in Memphis.
That's very true. Well, listen, I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I've been looking forward to talking to you. And, you heard him, ladies and gentlemen, brighter days are forecast ahead for 2023. Dr. John Gnuschke, thank you, sir, for coming on my show. And I hope that this is your first time, but I hope it won't be your last.
I hope so, too. You take care.
Have a great night. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Well, there you go. That's a kind of a broad look at what we could be dealing with the next several months as this year winds down and a new year starts up relatively soon in terms of the economic outlook of things. Because, boy, I tell you, it's been rough, and it's been rough on everybody, not just the particular segment as he discussed, those who were struggling already, but for all of us dealing with the gas prices and the supply chain issues and the high prices in stores and everything else. So very happy to have that perspective from someone who knows what he's talking about. We're going to take our next break, and when we come back, we're going to shift gears and we're going to talk about holiday scams. This is a holiday season, and we see an escalation in these holiday scams. And I also want to talk about payday loans and things like that too. Some of these folks that rip off folks, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, we'll get to that in just a minute after we take this next break. This is Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
Support for WYXR comes from Farm Burger. Farm Burger is your neighborhood grass-fed burger joint located in the East Atrium of Crosstown Concourse, offering custom grass-fed burgers, seasonal salads, and more. Farm Burger takes pride in their grass-fed beef and partners with local farmers such as Home Place Pastures, Bonnie Blue Farm, and Marmaloo Farms. For more information, visit farmburger.com. Support for WYXR comes from New Ballet Ensemble and School. Nut Remix is back for its 20th anniversary performances at the Cannon Center, November 26th and 27th. A modern reinvention of Tchaikovsky's classic Nutcracker, set on Beale Street with the Memphis Symphony Orchestra and Jukin dancer Lil Buck. More information at newballet.org.
Hey, we're Macro. We're playing live at WYXR's Raised by Sound Fest on Saturday, December 3rd.
Catch us in the Central Atrium at Crosstown Concourse. We'd love to see you there.
For more information, visit raisedbysoundfest.com.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
Really quiet. And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. So happy to have you with us. And, you know, we're getting into the holiday shopping season has officially started after Thanksgiving, of course. And today is Cyber Monday, if I'm not mistaken. So a lot of folks doing a lot of online shopping. Lola's over there. She's on her phone right now doing she's trying to find some Christmas presents this year. But one thing that we deal with a lot on the regular, but to me during this time of year in particular, because folks are in that shopping zone, is scams, and that's a very, very big deal. So I brought along a good friend. He's been with us before several times for some good information. Daniel Irwin joins us from the Better Business Bureau of the Mid-South. Daniel, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, and it's good to see you, my friend.
I did. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, you know, you're my go-to when it comes to things like this, and especially seasons like this as well. It just amazes me, and it still does, how advanced some people are in terms of the scams. They continue to ratchet those up, on a regular basis. And I was just I wanted to bring you on to kind of inform our listeners what to expect, as we get into the holiday season.
Yeah, well, it's big business, right? These scammers wouldn't be doing it if people weren't falling for it, and they treat it like a business. They take profits and they put it back into it and invest, and there's a lot of technology behind it. In fact, you're talking about it being Cyber Monday. The number one riskiest scam for consumers is online purchase scams. And actually, online purchase scams account for 40% of all the scam reports reported to the Better Business Bureau.
I talked to someone that you all work with pretty regularly, Regina Newman, in her office, and I know you all work together, and she gets a lot of information. Their office gets a lot of information from yours, and she mentioned that that's an astronomically high number. Am I just making that up? Because for me, 40%, that's a huge number.
Now keep in mind, not very many people report scams, right? Our best guess is that 1 in 17 people actually report scams, but to our national scam tracker, we have a tool that we use to track scams where people can go online to bbb.org/scam tracker. Not only can you report a scam, but you can check out one of these websites to see if anybody's reported it nationwide as being a scam. But what's reported to us, again, online purchase scams make up 40% of all the scams reported to the Better Business Bureau nationwide. So yeah, that is a real number, but it does seem pretty high, but it's real. But what's really disturbing about that is we've seen a trend this time last year. People reporting scams to us, but the percentage of people that actually lost money to one of these fake websites was about 35%. This year, it's about 60% of people that are reporting these fake websites, but are actually losing money and falling for them.
So it's even worse.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's the very sad part of all of this, that people are still falling for it. But I guess it says too that there's a bit of more of a sophistication in getting people to give up information, particularly as it pertains to the internet. I mean, these type of things that come along, especially the scam that you get something that looks like it's from your banking institution or some financial institution that says, we want to update our files and we want to make sure that we have, your up-to-date information. I would imagine that's a pretty big scam, isn't it?
Yeah, that's another one too, right? Pretty much all the scams out there are imposter scams, right? Mm-hmm. There's someone trying to claim that there's somebody else to get your information and your money. Again, we hear about the MLGW scam, right? Where, every time it gets hot or it gets cold, someone's trying to impersonate MLGW to what? To get your money, to get your social security number, right? Government grant scams. Most of the scams are imposter scams. In online shopping, it can be really hard out there for even professionals to tell what's real and what's not, right? Because these are real websites with real pictures, with real prices. But the difference is you're going to these websites, you're trying to purchase something, you're just never getting anything in return, right? They're just stealing your money. So it's really hard to tell what's real and what's not.
So based on what you just said, give our listeners some tips to pay attention to. I know the from to at the top of these emails is a critically important component in all of that.
Yeah, so some red flags when shopping online, right? Specifically for that would be huge discounts on hot gift items, especially when it's touted on social media or on unfamiliar websites, right? Mm-hmm. So anytime you see a product that's, in this case, maybe hundreds of dollars less than other retailers, that should make you stop to think, why is this being advertised so low? Probably the number one thing, though, across the board when it comes to scams, not only of online purchase scams and these fake websites, but also those emails and those text messages that you were mentioning, is scammer grammar, right? That's spelling errors and shoddy grammar on a website or in an email.
Sure.
And the reason why it's usually most of these scams are perpetrated overseas, especially these fake websites, right? Mm-hmm. And so when they're being written up, they're written by people that don't necessarily speak English as a first language, or they're using a Google translator. So that's why, scammer grammar is something, it's a huge red flag, right? And misspelled words are a big one. Kind of a pro tip and something that we see a lot in just a variety of different fake websites is if you're on a website and you scroll all the way down to the contact us page,
Yeah.
One common mistake that for whatever reason, a lot of these fake websites have in common is the word address is misspelled before the address. So that's a key one, right?
Wow. Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. Look for misspellings like that, because real retailers and legitimate retailers aren't going to miss something as obvious as that, right? They're not going to have misspelled words, especially the word address. The other thing to watch out for is misplaced and transposed letters in the URL, right?
Yeah.
Because most of us do a lot of shopping on our phone, we don't see the full URL. So when we click on links from social media, it can take us to a lookalike site, right? A lookalike site. Just because you see an emblem or a logo that you recognize doesn't mean you're really on that real site. So you got to be really careful, especially when you're on your phone, because you don't always see the full URL. And so also look for limited or suspicious contact options on a website. Mm-hmm. For example, if you go scroll down to the contact us and they only have a fill-in contact form, or they don't have a phone number, or they have a customer service email, but that email is a Gmail account and not a corporate one, that would be a really big red flag, and you might want to look somewhere else to make your purchase.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Daniel Irwin, our good friend from the Better Business Bureau of the Mid-South, and talking about some of the more familiar scams that folks deal with on a regular basis. You know, I've gotten a few in the past. I even get them today. For example, from a computer software company that says that says, you know, you bought security from us. Congratulations, your purchase of $450. You know, to extend your protection package, has cleared and this and that. And I delete all these things right away. Right. But again, if you're not paying attention, and if you see that and the first thing that comes to your mind is, wait, what? And it scares you, and you try to reach out to these folks, that's when the trouble really starts. Am I correct in that?
Right. So that's a tactic that they use. We usually call it phishing, but they're phishing for information. So they send you that, and you know that you haven't purchased that. Exactly. Well, they'll call the company or they'll call the scammer, right? Mm-hmm. They'll indicate that they're with a company even though they're not, and then they'll start to try to press you for personal information. They'll say something to the effect of, "Oh, well, let's take care of that. You're saying you didn't purchase that? Well, what's your credit card number? Let me check our system. Or what's your address?
There you go.
Let me just see what's your name. You know, well, let me just double check. Oh, I'll handle that for you. Oh, yeah, I see we don't have payment on file. Or, they'll start to ask you questions. And that's when people usually let their guard down. So you got to be really careful, contacting or responding to an unsolicited message or call of any kind. The other main thing that's going around right now that we see a lot of, but we don't talk about a lot, are those pesky text messages or emails that purportedly come from a shipping company, right?
Yeah.
Saying that you have a package.
Yeah.
It's really important to note that you will never have to pay money or give personal information for a package that's already in transit. But we get a lot of reports of this around this time of year with all the packages that are being delivered.
Going back and forth.
FedEx, UPS, the Postal Service are never going to reach out to you and request money or information to deliver a package that's in transit. That's going to be a scam every single time.
Okay, so I want to end on this because when I was speaking with Regina Newman recently, this came up. And it's not necessarily a crime per se, but it is a crime against humanity. And that is these payday lending joints that charge you so much interest. I mean, you pay way more than what you get. Is there any rule of thumb that goes along with dealing with payday lending places?
Unfortunately, it's legal in the state of Tennessee, and you're right. It's not a crime, but it is a crime against humanity, and it's a scourge on our society. And the only thing I can say is that they prey on people, and they prey on people during the holidays, right? They know that people are they're hurting still. We're still recovering from COVID. Inflation is high. People don't have enough money as it is, and they're being bombarded with ads all the time to buy this and buy that. It's never been easier to get in debt ever, right? You can't even go shopping online without an icon where you can pay later, right?
Yeah. True.
So predatory lenders know this, and so they advertise and they, especially this time of year, and just know that you do have options out there. You don't have to go and pay 35% interest at one of these, or even higher than that at a check cashing place or at a title loan place. There are options that you have, and if you don't understand what it is that you're signing, give the Better Business Bureau a call. We are staffed up. We have people that answer the phones all day long, and they give advice. If you don't understand what compound interest is, reach out to somebody that does.
Call somebody, find out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it really can ruin your life. I mean, once you get sideways with some of these predatory lenders and these loans, your credit will never recover. I mean, it's just horrible. So the best thing you can do is just avoid it altogether. Or if you are in a situation where you're already tied into a predatory lender, reach out to the Better Business Bureau. We do have some resources that we can maybe steer you towards, or Regina Newman's outfit over there, the Shelby County Trustee. They have a bank on Memphis, and they have the Financial Empowerment Center. They've got tons of resources, but you're not alone. You don't have to turn to that, and if you are sideways in that, there are resources. So reach out.
Daniel Irwin from the Better Business Bureau of the Mid-South. As always, my friend, thank you so much for your wise words and your valuable information. If I don't speak to you beforehand, happy Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays to you and yours, and please be safe out there.
You as well. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you learned something in that conversation, because I always do when I talk to folks. And if you have any questions or any doubts about anything you see, or read or hear about, you can always reach out to the Better Business Bureau of the Mid-South. One final break, and when we come back, we're going to shift gears again. We're going to talk a little bit about PR and to somebody who's been doing it for a while, and a particular project of interest of his as well. This is Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. I'm Chip. We'll be right back.
If you like Real Talk, here's a way you can get involved. Do you have a show topic idea or suggestion? Want to be considered a guest or have a guest idea? Then send Chip a message on his Real Talk show page, and you can be a part of the Real Talk experience. So as he always says, go out and tell somebody. We'll be right back.
WYXR is supported by the Onstage at the Halloran Center season, presenting the Orchestra Unplugged, Vivaldi, The Four Seasons, on Thursday, November 17th. Robert Moody and members of the Memphis Symphony Orchestra will bring you inside the mind and music of Vivaldi.
Raised by Soundfest is coming December 3rd. Go to raisedbysoundfest.com for more information.
WYXR is supported by GPAC, presenting Australian guitarist Tommy Emmanuel on Friday, January 13th. Tommy Emmanuel is known for his fingerstyle technique, live performances, and use of percussive effects on the guitar. More information at gpacweb.com.
This is Will Goodwin, co-founder at Crosstown Brewing Company. Just like WYXR, Crosstown Brewing supports Memphis music and our neighbors who use their talents to make it. Our beers can be found at our 3,000 square foot tap room right here at the Crosstown Concourse, and at your favorite bars, restaurants, and stores throughout Tennessee, Mississippi, and eastern Arkansas. Enjoy.
Get Real Talk on the TuneIn mobile app under WYXR, and he's now streaming live on Facebook. And you can also catch a rebroadcast on YouTube. Just put WYXR in the search box and hit subscribe. Now back to more Real Talk with Chip Washington.
And welcome back to Real Talk Memphis on this Monday evening. And as we said, but at the top of the show, my next guest is someone, who's been around this market for a while. A lot of folks know him. He has been doing PR for quite some time for various groups, organizations, and companies and businesses. And these days, he's continuing to do that and a few other things. But I wanted to talk to him, about, where he is in terms of some of the grassroots organizations efforts that he is really championing these days. So please welcome to Real Talk Memphis, Marvin Stockwell. What's going on, Marvin? Good to see you, man.
Chip, great to see you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. It's a pleasure to have you. So tell us a little bit about championing the cause, which I really like, as a handle, and that's kind of your organization handle in terms of the PR that you do these days. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I got curious about why I had the fire in the gut to continue to champion the cause of saving and reopening the Mid-South Coliseum. So I started writing a book, still haven't published it, but still working on it. And a couple of years ago, I started a podcast called Champions of the Lost Causes. So I interview people on my podcast about why they champion their cause and what their experiences have been. So when I decided to establish my own publicity practice, Champion the Cause seemed the most appropriate name from a branding perspective, but it just fits my life pretty well. I seem to be a cause-based PR pro more than anything else. I was at Church Health for years, and then most recently media relations director at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital before I went out on my own. So I've always been kind of a cause-based PR guy or advocacy, and really my own cause has taught me brand new things, I guess what you'd call government relations. But it's all been an evolving process, and I'm about a PR pro with about 18 years experience, mainly in Memphis, although St. Jude certainly opened me up to learning how to earn media on the national and international level.
There are quite a few, probably more than I'll ever know, organizations out there that fit the moniker of places that you want to champion their cause. Of course, you mentioned St. Jude, and there are so many others. So, I mean, but did you saw a need? It clearly drove you. I think the need-based places that you have worked at and have done business with really fall under that moniker. So it almost seems very apropos that what you do is based on that theme, champion the cause.
Yeah, it's just there's a kind of a rule of thumb. People say, well, we'd all love to do PR just for causes that are near and dear to our heart. I have agency friends that have said, we call those palate cleansers, that's supposed to make you be okay for doing PR for all the places you don't want to do PR for.
Sure.
And there's honor in all work, of course. But for me, I've always been a cause-based, mission-centric guy. So I just thought there's enough need out there. And yes, the idea of championing a cause is fairly broad. I recently brought on my first healthcare science comms client, Novant Health out of the Carolinas. And, what is health other than championing the cause of healthcare, better health for people? So it's a fairly broad definition that I can fit. I wouldn't say everything, and in fact, somebody said, now, Marvin, aren't you afraid that the word cause is going to hurt you because, you might not get the FedEx account? And I thought for a second, and I thought, FedEx is a great company and everything, but I don't really want the FedEx, account, unless it's their corporate social responsibility work, then I'm probably all ears, but.
Yeah. So I saw you recently, and you and I chatted, and you mentioned something that I'm really interested in hearing more about, which is this thing with the Mid-South Coliseum. So talk to me, or talk to our listeners about this particular project you have going on there.
Yeah, so I co-founded the Coliseum Coalition in early 2015, and we're the grassroots group that has worked constructively with the city of Memphis on trying to find a new use for the Mid-South Coliseum. There's certainly a lot of love for the Mid-South Coliseum. What we've learned, kind of executive summary, is, two separate assessments, including the city's own, have found that the Coliseum is in excellent shape. So we think it deserves a second act, and there are some real ideas that are starting to make their way to the city's desk, so to speak, for consideration. But what we've done as a grassroots group is just, first of all, kind of beat the drum of civic enthusiasm. And you've seen public opinions change about the Coliseum. In the early days, people would kind of look at us a little crazy and say, but then they kind of look both ways and they'd say, I've always loved the Coliseum. Is it okay for me to say that? Because it was fairly countercultural back then. Flash forward to today. And when we give tours, we've given north of 120 VIP tours for potential investors and other structural experts, et cetera. And people look at us and they go, yeah, when is that going to reopen? And so I think if you look at the other wins that Memphis has stacked up, you're sitting in one there at Crosstown Concourse.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we've rattled off as a city a ridiculous litany of wins that most people, if you'd said all this stuff's going to happen, and in 15 years ago, predicted that the Overton Park shell was going to come back, that was an early win, but the Gnuschke Hotel, the 19th Century Club, Crosstown Concourse, I think Memphians have developed an expectation that things are going to surge back to life. And I just feel like if Crosstown Concourse can happen, the Coliseum's not nearly as heavy a lift.
That's interesting that you say that. There's a lot of work going on over there. I mean, we see it. I mean, every day. I mean, God, good gracious, this huge facility that the city's got that's going to encompass, all the recreational activities and a lot of other things. It's right in that zone there, Marvin. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. So I think a lot of people, when they see that, there's a natural question. How does the Mid-South Coliseum even fit in all of this besides it's a historical, facility that so many who were born and raised here, spent time in at one time or another?
Yeah, well, I mean, there've been people have said, hey, why doesn't the Memphis Hustle play there? I think that would be a great idea. I think you could make the case for a set of basketball uses. But,
that's not bad.
My friend Christopher Reyes has put forth his Baron von Opperbein virtual reality, augmented reality idea. The Flyer did a cover story on it a couple of years ago. So that's an idea that's floating out there. It's not secret. But so it's a good building. It's a great building that is in excellent shape. So with the investment all around it, you'd think that there would be an opportunity for the city to capitalize on that. Not to mention the fact that the tourism development zone, which they fund the reinvest, essentially a sales tax recapture mechanism that allows them to issue the bonds for the improvements, and then you're able to kind of keep a certain amount of the sales tax local to pay down the bonds. So currently, the Coliseum is earning no tax dollars. So if you put something in the Coliseum that earns tax dollars, all of that tax revenue goes towards the increment. So our point all along has been if the Coliseum could be returned to tax generating status, it would spin off so much of additional revenue that you could do that much more good with it. It would quickly pay down the bonds and be able to fund additional stuff.
Well, I think, anything that helps to generate revenue and income for the city, it's probably a good thing. It's an interesting concept that you have, and we'll keep an eye on it and see how it goes, and check in with you every now and again to see if there's any progress being made on it. So I'm thank you for coming on and sharing, because I
appreciate it.
I've been thinking about it. I'm like, I really need to ask you about this Mid-South College. But I mean, you know what? There's some valid points that were made there, and so
I appreciate it. I don't think it's as impossible as everybody thinks, and I don't think that Mayor Strickland's proposal is a done deal. Like if you're reading the stories, it looks like the soccer stadium / Coliseum thing is really in third place behind the FedEx Forum and Liberty Bowl pieces.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be a while before he knows exactly what type of funding he may or may not get from the legislature.
Yeah. Marvin, thank you so much. Marvin Stockwell, ladies and gentlemen.
Many thanks.
So apprecibe you, man. We'll be in contact, okay?
Appreciate you.
Take
yes,
care.
sir.
All right,
Many thanks.
You too.
Bye-bye.
So there you go. You have to be a visionary to have a vision, and he's got a vision. So we'll keep a track on it and see how things go in terms of that. So another good show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you learned something. I hope you got something out of it. As always, we really appreciate you all checking in. I see folks on the timeline down here, and I think Vicki Goodman and Michael Harris and Sarah Gum and Tess Graham, and a few other folks. I appreciate you as always. Thank you. So as Lola plays us out, once again, really appreciate you for spending this hour on your Monday evening with us. We hope that we provide the type of show that is entertaining and informative. And all I ask is this. Please tell somebody about Real Talk Memphis. We're trying to do something here, trying to make a difference in our community. And we hope that we're doing that. If you have a suggestion for a guest or a comment or opinion you'd like to share with me, I'm not hard to find on social media. So for all of us here, for Lola, for Nicole, and for your humble host, Chip, you take care. In the meantime and in between time, we are Real Talk Memphis. I'm Chip. We're out. See you next week.